no one's ever, I've yet to meet someone that hits their number every day. I grew, I would say 99% of the years, sometimes staying flat was a huge success with larger book. But at times I went through funks where I was like, I thought, God, I want to quit. This just suck. I'm not made for this. Yeah. And then you have that great call. So I think just if leaders can focus on outcomes, and not outcomes of the deal, but outcomes of like the business, and maybe ways to, hey, how about, tell me how you can be a better teammate for your recruiting team this week.
All right, gang. Welcome to the 4th edition of the Make the Adjustment podcast. I am extremely excited today. Guys, this podcast is for staffing industry leaders, sales professionals, recruiters. The first 3 guests have been powerhouses, and the 4th guest is one of the best, if not the best sales professional I've ever heard of, worked with, gotten to know. His name is Casey Jacox. So I want to go through a quick intro on Casey. Casey is a former college quarterback, so we have that in common in college sports. But he was a record-setting sales leader at Kforce. I wasn't the top 10%, Casey. I was never number one like you. And he founded his own company called Win the Relationship, as well as his own podcast called the Quarterback DadCast, which I was very fortunate to be a guest on. Casey's now a sales coach, keynote speaker, author of his amazing book called Win the Relationship, Not the Deal. I've read the book. I've recommended the book to my clients. So, Casey, it is a true honor to have you on the Make the Adjustment podcast. Thanks for being here today.
Dude, I'm stoked. I'm honored to be here, and I couldn't be more proud of you, dude. I'm grateful that we met through the Chris Martins, the Joel Leggies, the JPs of the world, and shout out to Adam Blinsky too. We realize that in common, but yeah, it's been cool just to see you do what you do, and now you're going to impact a shit ton of people. There's the first S word out of the gate, and
bring it. We're athletes, man. We grew up in the dugout and the locker room, man. Bring it.
You got a red man?
I know, got a nice chew. Golden blend, actually. Oh, red man, golden blend. That's great.
Boy.
So this should be a fun chat today, man. Listen, I am obviously, I deeply value personal and professional development. You've read my book. I've read your book. And my college baseball coach, and I'm sure your coaches have been formative in your career. My college baseball coach really is the one who gave birth to Make the Adjustment. So I want to talk to you because sales professionals, recruiters, we all start in this industry at zero, right? We didn't really know the industry, what we got ourselves into. And then at some point there was like a transformation, an adjustment, that something you learned. And so I want to go back X amount of years. I'm not going to date us, but go back 10, 20 plus years to the sales professional you were when you started. What was the adjustment that you made in like year 1, year 2, where all of a sudden the light bulb went off? And you're like, wow, I get it now. I know this is the key to success in the industry. What was that for you?
Oh, wow. Where do I start? There's so many. First, I love the phrase make the adjustment because it's so relatable. And I think about the staffing industry, you have to make the adjustment throughout the journey because like you have big months and then you get freaking huge haircuts, not like bald haircuts, like you lose 20 consultants overnight or 80 consultants overnight. Like, what are you going to do? Well, you can sit in powder, you can make the adjustment. So I think it totally aligns. I think for me, I worked with a lot of really good leaders. I had some dicey ones at times. No offense to anybody listening, but I think it was just like the power of slowing down and realizing I did not have to memorize the entire, at time, Hall Kenyon or Kforce. I didn't have to memorize the script. What I had to do was just ask good questions and shut the F up. And then learn to ask the second question, like, tell me more about that. And I think once that clicked for me, I was like, oh my God, this is slowing down. It's like I can actually see the slider out of the guy's hand versus I'm not guessing on a 2-2 pit count. I'm like, I see it. And it's like, so for me, I think that's for me, what it really speaks to me. And now, is the work we get to do now, it's our turn to send the elevator back down. And if we can help other people learn that quicker than it took me too long to learn, then we're going to make the world a better spot.
100%. I use an analogy all the time with leaders, sales professionals. I say, you're walking down the street, you fall into a hole, it's 10 feet deep, no tunnel, no way out. Priest walks by, they say a prayer, walk away. A doctor walks by, writes a prescription, throws it in there. And then I walk by, or Casey Jacox walks by, and we jump in the hole. And the salesperson goes, why did you jump in this hole? There's no way out. And I'm like, oh no, I've been in this hole before and I can show you the way out. And so, I think you and I share that level of humility where, you try to balance the confidence and humility at all times, but there's lots of holes we've been stuck in and we can guide, people out of them. And so I want to talk to you about that. You're referencing something that I learned out of your book about curiosity. That's a big core tenet for you. Talk to me, listeners, about why curiosity is so important.
Well, if you didn't not seen Ted Lasso, I mean, that's like exhibit A, and there's a sign behind me. You guys can't see it. It says, be curious, not judgmental. I get to look at that every single day. If you ever get an email from me, it says, stay curious. Selfishly, it's for me to remind me to be curious. I'm coaching myself. I think, there's a cliche in life that they say success leaves clues. And when you think about history, guys like Voltaire, I think he might have been a sexist back in the 1500s, but he said a man or woman, I'll help him out, is not judged by his or her answers, but by his or her questions. And then these guys like Edison and people like Socrates and people like Disney and the people like Oprah, like they were teaching and preaching curiosity forever, yet we just don't see it. We want to I got to tell them and force them. But when we slow down, listen to learn versus listen to persuade, wow, the life becomes a little bit easier. Wow, relationships are about someone else versus not me. And I think that is just such a gift. And once people embrace it, and then you throw in the skill set of humility and vulnerability with curiosity, that's like the superpower for a force field that you will not allow fear or ego to enter your culture, in my experience. I'm not saying I'm right.
Yeah.
Just in my experience.
Yeah, no, totally agree. What's your advice? A lot of younger or new people in our industry, they jump into a sales desk, recruiting desk. And you referenced this when I asked you the question earlier about your beginning of your career. We start out and you're trying to memorize the pitch deck and overcoming you're trying to just get smart on your company and your service lines and all these things. But to your point, what you just articulated is being curious, asking better questions, listening more, make it about the other person. How do new people that are trying to gain competency execute what you're talking about? Because I completely agree. What you're talking about is exactly the way we should be doing this in all sales relationship-based professions.
Well,
how do you help?
I think it starts with the leader. I think it really starts with the leader and the culture. Just like if I could tell people, hey man, you could go out and start building relationships. Let's go. What are you doing? Oh, okay, boss. Shit, how do I do it? Or, hey, you got to start asking better questions. Come on, Chris, let's go. Okay, I got you. How do I do it? Well, I think that's the leader. So if you say, hey, we got to start asking better questions. So tell me, what do I mean by that? So if the leader creates space where people aren't afraid to try, or you create space to practice, imagine that, salespeople. Stop practicing on our clients. Imagine how they feel if we stop doing that. We actually just, whether it's 15 minutes a week, imagine if you just brainstorm 15 minutes a week and say, hey, tell me what's your best question you asked this week where a customer said, man, great question. Or what's a question you asked that just exposed one of the values we drive home for our customers. And I think if the leader can create space and then use humility to say, hey, I don't know everything. Maybe I'll learn from you guys today. And then it's just this you're as almost bring yourself down to a level, even though you are the boss, but create space where learning's encouraged. People aren't afraid to try. I think when you do that, people will start to learn and embrace. And I think a really simple way to measure it is if you're hearing the phrase, great question, from your prospect or your client.
Yeah.
Making them think.
Yeah.
Keep talking, just shut up, stare at them, embrace silence, and let them think. And because if you're going to ask a really good question and then ruin it by keep talking, it's just you're just like every other common seller out there. But if you want to be uncommon, slow down, practice asking questions. If you don't know what I mean by that, ask your team, ask your leader, ask others, connect with me or you want Chris online. We'll help you.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, it's funny because I used to say live in the awkward, to your point, when you ask a question or you're even negotiating, you drop a number or you ask a question, you have to live in that space of awkwardness. And it probably feels like 30 seconds. It's probably only 3, right? But I love that philosophy.
On that, and this is maybe a takeaway for people. I teach this thing called the 3-tap rule.
Yeah, tell me about it.
So tell me if you can hear this.
I cannot.
You sure?
I have headphones on. I can't hear.
It was really loud. I tapped my arm 3 times.
Did not hear.
Right? So there's no way. So it help when I ask a question and I want to let it sit. I'll say, hey, so tell me da 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 da. They won't see it, but I'm doing it to slow me down to just
love that. That's a great tactic. Guys, this is a secret sauce. People ask all the time, when we charge whatever rates we charge, and then we tell them stuff like that. That's it? You're like, that's it. And if you start, and all of a sudden they double their revenue and you're like, whatever the fee was, they're happy to pay it. Right. So,
well, one of the things just made me think about it. So shout out to, I'm not going to say his name, but there's a leader I'm working with right now. That was the leader that, he loved getting fired. You kind of remember the movie Old School?
Love Old School.
When we're going to keep
go
our
streaking.
composure.
We're going to go streaking. No, sorry.
No, well, not that part. I love that part too. Frank,
Frank the
get in the
Tank.
car.
Sorry, so what's the part you love? Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
When he has the whitey tidies on in the locker room, and he's taking the chair and banging it up against the locker, and he's telling everybody got to keep our composure. He was kind of that leader, which just creates a shit show.
Right.
And he's embraced, instead of responding and reacting, he's responding with, "Hey, well, tell me how you got there. Describe what your thought process was and how we got that." And he's like, "Oh my God, dude, I never would have thought there was strength and vulnerability, but it's changing me. It's changing my company. It's changing the culture. My team's like excited to practice. My team is like, we're getting more meetings." He's like, "This is magic." I'm like, "It's not magic. It's just simple EQ that most people don't slow down to think about."
Right.
They spend 80 hours memorizing AI and chat GPT, which is important. But if you don't know how to be a human being and connect to people, you're effed.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's funny. You talk about vulnerability and leadership. I've worked with leaders before that I think at one point in their career may have believed that vulnerability is weakness. And what I've talked to those leaders about is, look, it's not about oversharing, right? But being vulnerable is just being open, honest about how you feel about a situation. To your point, asking better questions of those people. I want to keep that. I want to stay in that leadership tone with you, Casey, because in our industry, and again, through your book and the lessons you've taught, when the relationship, it's not about the transaction, right? It's not about the deal. And I also espouse playing the long game, right? If you look at a staffing desk and you're playing a 10, 20-year game, you're not worried about necessarily today and the week, like as much as, do I need a rec this week? Do I need a rec this week? And I think one of the traps leaders fall into in staffing is they're always asking their reps, like, "Hey, Casey, how many recs you got this week? How many?" And as a result, what they get is salespeople looking for recs, which is kind of the opposite of, I think, what you espouse. So what's the advice to leaders to help them make the adjustment in that area? What do you think about it?
Yeah, you spot on, nailed it, man. Imagine instead of we asked that, "Hey, tell me the top two conversations you had this week that just get you out of bed," or tell me the industry that just excites you, or tell me, I know we didn't hit 10 visits last week, Chris, but you had 8. To tell me what you loved about 8 of them that has you excited about next quarter. Just inspire them, because I've yet to meet someone that hits their number every day. I grew, I would say 99% of the years, sometimes staying flat was a huge success with larger book.
Sure.
But at times I went through funks where I was like, I thought, God, I want to quit. This is suck. I'm not made for this. And then you have that great call. So I think just if leaders can focus on outcomes, and not outcomes of the deal, but outcomes of like the business, and maybe ways to, hey, how about, tell me how you can be a better teammate for your recruiting team this week. Imagine to not have the Jets versus Sharks West Side Story argument nonstop, because it's the staffing industry, as you know, Chris, I assume you know, is like the blame game industry. Did my part, got the job order.
Yep. Yeah, that's awesome. What you referenced something earlier about AI, and so for people that don't know, by the way, I want to tell a quick story about Casey too and embarrass him a bit. But so I met Casey a couple of years ago at Bullhorn Engage, and he was very kind with his time. I just started my business. He was a few years ahead of me in business, and so Casey, thank you for your kindness and your advice, because everything's been very helpful. So I appreciate that.
You bet.
But then we take it a step further, and we were talking about TechServe, and I just become a member. And you and I, just one thing leads to another. You're like, "Hey, Chris, I'm moderating a panel. I can't make it. I have a family commitment. Could you do it?" And it wasn't even, I feel like I can't memorize exactly. Like, do you have the time to do it? Could you do it for me? That's what you said. Could you do it for me? And in that exact moment, I'm like, wow, like we had been pals for 2-3 years. And I was just like, what a genuine guy. In theory, you and I compete. In theory, you and I are coaches in the same industry. But 2.5 years ago, you said, "Chris, this is a massive industry. There's so much opportunity out there for you. Don't view it that way," which I didn't at the time, and I never have. But that TechServe story just speaks to your win the relationship, not the deal philosophy. And I wanted to thank you, because what the panel was about was, how do you blend old school staffing, relationship-based approach with AI? So you weren't there last week. I was. But what would you have said about, making sure that we balance the two, because they're both critically important to, I think, the future of sales professionals and staff?
I think, I mean this like kind of sarcastically, but true though, is AI will make we're going to swear on this one. Sorry, Chris. We're going to make
Yeah, I want you to.
AI will make shitty salespeople shittier. AI will make average salespeople shitty. And if not done the right way, average AI can make elite salespeople average. And
Talk about that.
what I mean by that is I think it can be a crutch. And I think if it's not used the right way, you can really hurt critical thinking skills and limit critical thinking skills. And so, like if I go meet with a customer, hey, Mr. Mrs. Director of PMO, great question. Hold on. Hey, ChatGPT, the manager just asked me this. What should I say? Okay. So great question. I mean, I'm joking, right? But I think if you don't practice I think still embody the things, either the things I wrote about, they weren't my ideas. They're just things that I found worked for hundreds and hundreds of years, and they still work. Like the old school handwritten note still works. People think it doesn't. It does. But for me, I use AI for my podcast. I use AI for like note taking. I use AI for transcribing things. I use AI sometimes if I want to help, craft a message or craft a maybe LinkedIn post, but I want it to be my voice. And so I just think, and back to the sarcastic example, I would just encourage people to remember that your voice is way better than AI, I think, because we all have our true authentic self. And
yes,
that client or person you're meeting and building a relationship, they'll feel it if it's not you. I had a client at an unnamed company. His VP of HR called him out. He said, "Hey, this isn't you. Did you write this or did Chet?" He goes, "Sorry, Chet." And I go, "Hey, I love the vulnerability that you said, that you owned it.
Right.
But if people are going to know it, so I would just encourage you, like, embrace it, learn about it, find ways to maximize your business. But I don't think it's the be all end all. But I think it's just a way to make you smarter."
Yeah, no, that makes a ton of sense. It was funny because at TechServe conference, we ended up talking about AI all over the place. And it just sounded like the general theme was AI can replace simple tasks. There are certain job functions that can make more efficient, like maybe recruiting, sourcing, or lead generation through marketing. But again, to your philosophy and mine, people do business with people. Like that's never going to change. The relationship matters. Connectedness matters. That's never going to change. I don't think it's never going to change. I know that's never going to change. So let's talk about the day we played a little bit of golf. So for the athletes in the crew,
I paid you. Okay. I don't owe you any more money.
Well, if people want to know how much money we make and what we bet, the inversion is I won $10, so, but talk about, Connor Cardew and Mark from the Davis companies. How did you get to know Mark? He's a, very well-known guy in New England. How did that relationship start? I'm curious.
I met Mark, I believe, through TechServe.
Okay.
Or maybe the Vices group, or maybe Lauren Jones. I've known him for 3 or 4 years. But yeah, just a stud. I mean, lacrosse beast, dad. He's a former guest on the podcast too. Just a genuine guy, and I think he's someone that embodies learning and growth. And I was lucky enough to do some work with his company. And shout out to Ben and Scotty. Just working with what I like about him is that he's real, and that's why I think people who are real and you are who you say you are, you're going to be successful in this industry. I think Connor, when we met him, great, really, really good dude, funny, great leader, similar mindset. And I think that goes back to what we talked about earlier. To me, I wanted, if you didn't we were essentially introducing our customers to each other and essentially introducing our clients to you and me. And so,
right.
Again, you and I both, I think, have realized the power of abundance versus scarcity. And when you can, I want all my clients to meet you.
Yeah.
Because I'm not eventually, as a coach, consultant to the industry, you gotta be a different voice, different flavor. If you eat chocolate ice cream every single day, you eventually need to have vanilla one day or strawberry one day. And I think when you can surround yourself with the highest quality people and then let your customers meet them, I think our value goes up. And there's so much opportunity for us if you just see the big picture. And again,
100%.
To your point, people don't always see it that way. But yeah, long-winded answer. Mark's a great dude.
Yeah. And I want to take that to your podcast because all of us have been in your podcast. So how did you start your podcast? So tell me what year you started your business and then what you started the podcast and what was the precipice idea around, I'm going to start this podcast about this because of this.
So there's the theme of sarcasm going on today. Back in 2020, when I started the podcast, there was a lot of um, Me Too. There's a lot of obviously social unrest. There was a lot of, I think women weren't getting a lot of opportunity. But one thing I thought about there wasn't a lot of stuff for dads out there. And so my joke was, I said, well, there was a lot of Me Too, but there's not a lot of He Too, so I
Love it.
wanted to help dads, the same things I believe are superpowers, which is humility, vulnerability, and curiosity. I'm like, yeah, those help leaders. Yeah, those help salespeople, but why couldn't those help dads? And so shout out to Ty Nunez, my college receiver. It's Uncle Rico moment. I can throw the ball over that mountain if you want me to. And he finally just said, dude, stop telling me you're going to start this freaking podcast. I'm coming to your house right now. We're going to start it. I'm like, wait, what? And This was like in COVID in Eastern Washington. And he literally came over and we freaking bought stuff. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And he was episode 1. I was episode 2. We were going to do it together. And he's like, you know what, dude, you got to do this by yourself. And what I love most about having a podcast, it helps me practice things I teach, which is I have to practice curiosity all the time.
Yeah.
And if I don't ask good questions, it's going to be a shitty interview. And if I'm not present, if I'm not prepared, it's going to be a shitty interview. So that skill set aligns right into the one thing I did learn. And one thing I still to this day, it's never been the reason, but I never thought that a book, a podcast, and then this coaching and speaking journey that found me, I did not mean to get in this job, that found me as a straight calling.
Yeah.
They now are like this.
Right.
I mean, I've interviewed a sales leader, didn't know there was a sales leader. He's on my podcast. Next thing you know, he bought 70 books from me. Next thing you know, I'm speaking at his event. Next thing you know, I'm coaching 2 of his VPs. I'm like, that was never the goal.
Right.
But I think when you kind of just surrender and you were there for genuine, authentic reasons, opportunities.
Yeah. And I want to take a step back there too, because you made the leap from corporate America to entrepreneurship. And even though this podcast primarily targets staffing industry leaders, I have some clients that are entrepreneurs that own restaurants and other business lines. They listen to the pod. Talk to me a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey. Like, when did you make the decision of like, okay, I had this run at Kforce. Obviously you had whatever choices in corporate staffing companies for sure. What was the decision point for you to be like, I'm going to start my own thing?
There was a voice in my head for a long time, and not like a schizo, but like a voice saying, there's something bigger. And I remember like one time, one of my former clients said, she goes, Casey, when I talk to you, it's different. When I talk to everybody else at your company, it's not the same. And I would get defensive. I'd be like, that's not very nice. And like, why? Like, I was like, the quarterback protect my alignment. And I didn't tell my team that at the time. And if they hear me saying this is the first time they've ever heard that. But it just but then it kind of made me think. And then I did it for so long that I felt like there was something else out there. I didn't know what. And then I read a great book called The Surrender Experiment, which is a little out there from a spiritual perspective, but it really just helped me surrender to the moment, life's flow, surrender to the values that drive you, and then just surrender.
Yeah.
And then once I did that and stopped trying to like, well, I got to have this many meetings and I got to have this kind of business. I don't have financial goals. I don't have business goals. As wildly insane that might sound.
That sounds insane to me. Yeah.
I surrender to serve. And if I serve, and that might be naive for people, and I might be like, what? This guy's an idiot. It's worked for 49 years. Everybody.
It's working. Oh, it's definitely working. Yeah.
And I'm so clear on what works. I'm so clear on, because I can back it up with a story. But it's kind of, did I ever tell you how the whole thing started?
No.
So shout out to Leslie Vickery, first client ever. She was my customer I was her client at Kforce. And then my second year.
Yeah, she's awesome.
My non-compete, I was just like networking with like-minded people. I had no idea what I was going to do, but I just was like trying to connect with people. And then Leslie one day said, hey, I'm looking for a coach for one of my vice presidents. Do you know anybody? I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, dude, I can totally help her. But the voice in my head said, you're not certified coach. You can't help her.
Mm.
And so I hung up with her because she said she had to go. And she had to go, Casey, I got a meeting like in 5 minutes. So I got to jump. I'm like, no, all good. And so I called this guy named Andrew in Toronto, who I met during this like year of networking. And I said, hey, Andrew, I'm hoping you can help me out, man. I think I'm supposed to be a coach, but I'm not certified. I really would love your advice on what do you think I should do? He's like, man, Case, I don't know. I don't know if you can take what I'm about to tell you. It's like, what do you mean? He goes, I want to be really honest with you. I don't think you can take it. I'm like, I think I can take it. I've thrown 4 picks in a freaking stadium. I got booed. I've been part of one of Kforce's biggest deals and biggest flunks. Been boardrooms, brother. I've been coached hard. I can take it. He's like, all right. So I heard about you as you've achieved this, this, and this. You've achieved this, this, and this. I go, yeah. He goes, then get out of my motherfucking face and stop wasting my fucking time. I was like,
yeah.
What? He goes, hey, dumbass.
He's right.
Here's your certification. And he held up my book, which I did not know it had. He's like, there's your certification. I was like, thank you. Oh my God. And I felt like I got in trouble at recess. I hung up with him, called Leslie right back. And I said, I don't even know if Leslie remembers this, but it's clear as day for me. I go, hey, I know you said you have to go, but you have like 1 minute. She goes, you got to talk fast. I go, are you still looking for a coach? She goes, I just told you that 5 minutes ago. I think I found your guy. Can I tell you about him? And I described myself in third person. She's like, oh my God, who is it? I go, it's me. When do I start? She's like,
that's awesome.
I go, I know.
Great question.
Now, I don't have a website. I do have a business license. I have 0 marketing. I can get QuickBooks started today. So whatever you were going to pay a coach, how about you give me 75% of that? And after 3 months, if I've not changed habits or just got her going the right direction, I'll give you all your money back. She's like, fuck it. Let's do it.
No brainer. I think it's a no brainer. That's awesome. That's a great story. Did not hear that story. Leslie Vicky's a powerhouse too. She's doing amazing work in her industry. She's great. Saw her down at Texas.
She's awesome.
Very cool. I want to go back to this athlete thing. So you're a quarterback, you played college sports, and I played college baseball. I think you'd agree with this. People who played some level of college athletics, the transition into this business thing, what are those attributes that you see for people that maybe even aren't athletes, that maybe the athletes just kind of systemically know? Why is there such an easy transition for athletes to be business development professionals and leaders in our industry?
Be able to be coached, self-discipline, time management, grit, goal setting. I mean,
so true.
Those are the ones that scream to me. And I mean, to your mantra, your brand, make the adjustment. Hey, you're down. We thought on 3rd and 10, this play was going to work. It's not. Make the adjustment. What are we going to do? Oh, shoot. We thought they're going to play cover 2. They're playing freaking cover 2 man. They're dropping this. They're bringing 4 weak. They're dropping the weak side backer. I mean, they're dropping, like, oh shit. So I think like if you can't be flexible and keep that ego checked, because like one of the best pieces of advice I got, shout out to Doug Arthur. I don't even know where Doug is. He was at my first job called Barcodes West back in '99.
What did Barcodes West do?
We sold labels, but I called them stickers.
Okay.
They're like, hey, this was back when I rocked a B2200 truck with sandbags in the back, studded tires.
Okay.
Beauty, dude.
By the way, I didn't say this earlier. Casey's from the upper Northwest Seattle area. Maybe that's an insult. What part of Washington are you in, Casey?
City called Maple Valley.
This
truck. I'm going to give love to the B20. Anybody rocking a B2200 out there? I love you. My wife's like the girlfriend, wife, but in college we had this truck. She's like, that's your truck? That's not a truck. It looks like a long El Camino. I'm like, it's a truck. Anyway, I digress. But the advice was, Casey, do you want to be right or do you want to get what you want?
So good.
And I was like, well, I want both. He's like, you got to pick one. I'm like, I want to get what I want. He's like, good answer. He goes, why? I go, well, maybe because my ego is going to be in the way. That piece of advice, Chris, helped me in staffing every single day. How many times can you remember? I'm sure there's this going to speak to a leader at home when a recruiting leader says, or a recruiter says, I got the perfect candidate. How do you know? Did you get your software degree over the weekend? How do you know they're perfect? This client has the best, but how do you know? Have you asked better questions? Are there any gaps in your discovery?
Yeah.
So it just kept me like my ego checked.
Yeah. It's so true because there's this paradox. You've referenced it. I say things same but different. The biggest paradox in selling is not selling, right? The biggest paradox in confidence and cockiness or humility is like this whole be right or get what you want. Like, which one do you want? And I think early in our careers, we want to get what we want, right? And it's like, get the result. That's good stuff.
I tell clients I work with now, like, listen, your leader hired me to coach you. If you don't want to get coached, then we shouldn't work together. I don't want to be right. I want you to get what you want. Because
Correct.
If I help you and you start creating better culture and you make more money and you close more deals, guess how much more money I make? Carry the 1 times 6, 0. My contracts aren't set up that way, brother. I get paid. When that happens, I get paid in this currency called karma, and it's just so. And that's what's fun is you can let people get out of their own way, and that just is like releases them.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Taking your dog off a leash at the beach.
That's great. So I want to go back to your book real quick too. The lessons in the book, just for listeners who maybe haven't read it that want to, find a copy of it on Amazon, et cetera. Talk to me about the one or two core tenets you haven't already discussed with us that are in the book. They're just core principles that, again, you found to be true in your 49 years.
I'll highlight two. One, fall in love with the CRM. Fall in love with task management and let the system drive you. The days when the power would go out, that's the days I'd freak out but the system managed me. I didn't manage the system. I wrote an entire chapter about that. And there's stories in there for a leader. I'm sure you have a top seller that has, 35 people on billing, contractors on, and they're like, oh, I don't have time. I'm like, weird. I had 306. That was the most consultants I ever managed. And Kforce used to measure CRM usage. And I was number one in that too. We love to be the victim of our own story as a seller and tell us these prophecies, things that don't exist. They're all lies versus if there's got to be a way. Impossible doesn't exist. Just like, was it Henry Ford? You think you can or can't, you're right.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's always a way if you just be curious and open to it. The other thing I'd say, one of my favorite things that I got taught at age 41, which is the art of sending and crafting a great meeting recap.
Okay.
And I learned this at age 41, and I wish I would have learned it in my 20s. I'd always send follow-up emails, but I give an example of one I would send, right? And with obviously fictitious names to protect just confidentiality, but it does two things. It's on page 82 or 83 in the book, if you can find it. But it does two things. It proves the client you listened. And two, there's a way to do it where you actually then send this tight meeting recap, not like a senior thesis, but more of an executive brief of what you learned, what's about the business, next steps, action items. And then you ask the client or your prospect, say, hey, Mr. Client, if you could please email me back today, let me know if I've captured everything correctly, that'd be helpful. If they send you an email back, that meeting went great. If they didn't, and it's been 1 or 2 days, that meeting didn't go well, which allows me to say, man, because so many times sellers go to the meeting, man, boss, killed it.
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, exactly.
We're going to Sizzler.
Exactly. Sizzler. Yeah.
But it wasn't. You sucked. You thought you were good because you talked the whole time. You didn't learn one thing about them. Your meeting recap did not capture anything they talked about. And again, it just helps people, and me specifically in my business now. Like, I don't want to work with people that don't want me to work with them. I don't want to waste my time begging people to work with me. That's a waste of time. I want to ask really good questions. And if someone has a problem, they're going to hire me.
Yeah. I have right. No. And Casey, I have an intake question like you. What's your readiness to make the adjustment? And so I ask people, hey, on a scale 1 to 10, Casey, what's your readiness to make the adjustment? Anybody that says 7 or less, I'll say something to the degree of, well, you're probably not ready to work with me then, because I'm happy to take your money and work with you. But if you're really not ready to change, we're just wasting oxygen, really. It's not going to make the impact. So what I've learned, and I've learned it through lessons learned myself, watching other people do it, people won't change until they decide. And so you can't force people. Right? If you try to force somebody to get short-term compliance, if you influence what they think, at some point they come around and they will change. It's just a matter of their propensity to want to change, right? I mean, do you agree with that?
100%. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter if you want to help them make the adjustment. They have to want to make the adjustment.
Exactly. Right.
And if you want to live in Van down by the river, go for it.
Great sketch. Matt Foley reference. Shout out Saturday Night Live. Exactly. So in last thing, so AI. So we talk about AI note takers, things like that. You referenced this as well. And I want to reinforce this point, sending that follow-up email. If you have an AI note taker, number one, that's great because those note takers are incredibly useful you don't have to write down as much, et cetera. But I also, to your point, maybe put the human touch, copy and paste and be like, hey, these are the takeaways and do what you suggested. I do like that follow-up because it does kind of force the hand of the client saying, hey, yeah, it was a great meeting, blah, 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 or they go dark. And then, we have to figure out how to chase them down.
Well, and to that point too, I would say for the seller, sales leader out there, like, oh my God, so I just use Calendly or AI note taker from Zoom or Fireflies, whatever it is. I just copy and paste and send it to the client. No, do not do that.
Right.
Because sometimes those note takers,
They miss stuff.
sometimes they think Jamie is a girl, but maybe it's Jamie the guy. And maybe they spelled your name wrong, and maybe they didn't understand something. So like, I think you can still like use it, summarize it, copy paste it, then highlight, but make it your own voice.
Yeah. Well, so I found one through my Google Workspace called Read AI. The reason I like it, it actually tells you through the meeting, it perceives the other side's engagement, eye contact, how much they talk, et cetera. But I also like if it's 2 people or 3, it doesn't matter. You can see the percentage of how much you talked versus listened. And like you, I try, if I'm on a sales call, to talk a third of the time, listen 2/3, maybe 25%, 75%. So I like Read AI for that. So again, sales professionals, people out there, if you want to track,
Read AI.
Are you a good listener? Measure it.
Meow. There's something I don't know if that has this feature, but there's also something called Gong. I had a client in the wealth management space use. This is like 3 years ago. I worked with them for 3 years, and I taught them something that I got taught called TED-based questions and TED-based language, which stands for tell me, explain, describe. Those are like cheat codes in terms of like back. Remember video game Contra? You could like up, down, A, B, A, B. You could like
that's right. Yeah.
It was yes, we just dated ourselves. The younger salesman. What's he talking about?
Like, no idea.
But they loved TED questions so much. They actually they wrote like a business rule inside of their AI tool where they were recording sales calls. And they said measure how often they said TED-based language, and then they tied that to deals. And they saw like a huge spike in business when more of their wealth management financial advisors were using TED-based language.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's wild. Cool. That's cool. Well, and I also, when I remember talking to you about a customer I was stuck on one day, and then you talk about a collaboration. I'm like, Casey, I need a methodology. And I gave you the problem. And you're like, oh, MEDDIC. You're like, Chris, I'm like, I've never heard of MEDDIC. I'm writing it down. I'm like, what is MEDDIC? That was a very helpful tip. So thank you for that. Yeah, that was great. Thank you. Well, because I grew up I went to, so sales professionals will know a lot of these. I went to Sandler selling certification, been selling. I then went to a Chris Voss event, which was amazing. FBI hostage negotiator, never split the difference. I'm sure, guys, you've probably heard of, read about, et cetera. And I try to take all of it, and even your work, and I just try to take all of that and make it, quote unquote, an American Idol my own, because I know that all of those philosophies are generally woven together in some way, shape, or form. I remember Challenger selling Teach, Tailor, Take Control. Never forgot that. You're all, and I remember Sandler selling the 15-minute rule. So you get on a call. Hey, Casey, nice to meet you. I'm Chris. Blah, blah, blah. Hey, the reason we're called today is this. Hey, tell me about your situation. 15 minutes. I can't sell. I just have to ask questions, probe, mirror, and so those are all the things that I learned through the years that I try to bring to the sellers I work with, just because I know they work. And to your point, this stuff can work when you do podcasts too.
One of my mentors said, it's like front 9, back 9. Front 9, it's not about you.
Yeah, there you go.
Ask a
question. I like that.
You can't talk about yourself until the 10th hole.
Love that.
Awesome.
That's the same thing. Yeah, a 30-minute call. The front 9 is the first 15 minutes. Right? It's all question asking. So again, guys, Casey, thank you for your time. Like, I want sales professionals to go back and listen to pieces of this, and I'm going to have Riverside carve up some highlights for your social and mine as well. So much gold and advice that you've given, and thank you for being here today with me. You're a good friend. Again, for those who don't know the story, that whole TechServe thing, I told it earlier. This is a guy who wrote a book called Win the Relationship, Not the Deal. And to watch him continue to live it from the minute I met him is incredible. And for the people at TechServe, Casey, I'm telling you, they missed you. You were missed. Everybody's asking about you. I heard so many stories of clients you've worked with where you've transformed their culture. And that's great because, man, we coach staffing customers, and I know you have other clients outside like I do as well. It's so frustrating to see poor leadership or people not investing in their teams and things like that. And you go to a conference like that, and you meet these people. They're investing in their teams. They're trying to make the adjustment. They're doing the right things. And again, those are the companies that are probably in the top 20th percentile in our industry. But you've made a tremendous impact. I'm telling you, man, for the people I've met. Yeah, 100%.
Well, next year, dude, let's talk to our friends at TechServe. Sean Gilligan, if you're listening, Chris Mader and I are going to do something together.
I love that idea. That's a no-brainer. That's a no-brainer.
We got to think of like a good mic drop moment. We'll bring our own mic, Sean, so we don't ruin TechServe's mics, but
get like a Britney Spears mic, one of those.
Oh, I like that. Yeah. Hey, can I tell one last story?
I was going to ask I was actually going to ask if there's anything else you want to share, please.
And this is like, all about making the adjustment, which I think, and I want to give a shout out to my wife who, again, I think it's going to be a good way to wrap us up today about ego, being coached. And so maybe year one of this coaching journey, I was like obsessed with it. I was like having so much fun. It was a new identity for me because for 20 years I was Kforce #1 guy, and everyone said how great I did and da da da. Sometimes, but I was like, and then when you go out on your own, hey, where's the attaboys?
Nobody knows you exist.
People like me. It's like, and like you kind of like go through this. I mean, I wasn't like depressed or going, but I was just like, you have to kind of redefine yourself, and it was fun to go through. And then I remember I was so like excited about when the podcast was launching, and I was so excited about the book, and then without knowing it, I was like on accident coaching friends. I was trying to give advice to people that they didn't want advice. I was trying to give advice to my wife, and she's like, "Hey, can I give you some feedback?" And I'm like, "Yeah, what's going on?" She goes, "We want Casey back." And I'm like, "What?" She's like, "We don't want to be coached." And it was just like, oh, what a punch in the face. But I'm like so thankful she said that, because, and I like sharing this story to my own embarrassment, because we all have gaps, everybody. We all can get better. We all can. And if you either can, do I want to be right and say, screw you, and no, I'm not, versus shit, am I doing that?
Yeah.
And then I just asked a few more questions, like buddies, like, hey man, I'm sorry if I come across, I'm just like so jacked up about this. And I know that, and I used to make the joke, like one of my really best friends is a cop.
Okay.
And I'm like, he's not telling me, Jacox, you're never going to guess. Dude, pulled a guy over going 38 and 25. You want to hear about it? I mean, he's not telling me about that.
Right.
And I could give two shits.
Right.
Why does he care about how I helped a sales leader ask better questions?
Right.
So, and that's right. I mean, make the adjustment. It spoke to me, and I heard, I'm like, oh, dude, I had to make the adjustment.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. And again, successful people, I think, having some semblance of an ego and confidence is obviously, it is needed. But of the books I love, there's a few behind me. I got to get yours up there too. But Marshall Goldsmith's book on emotional intelligence, his subtitle of his book is How to Make Successful People Become Even More Successful. And so I think that's what I try to do with Mike. I'm sure that's what you try to do with your clients. It's not about breaking people. It's not about you're broken. You're successful, but you can get incrementally better. And as soon as you stop that journey, I believe you're getting worse, right? If you're not getting better, you're getting worse. So
my football coach said that no one stays the same.
Yeah, so true. So true. Casey, where can people find you? Listen, I want to direct people to your website. If you guys are looking for a sales coach, leadership coach, again, one of the best industries right here. So where can people find you?
Thanks for asking. I'm very active on LinkedIn. LinkedIn's a great place to find me. You mentioned my website too, which is just caseyjacox.com. There's testimonials, there's videos, there's information about my book, podcast, speaking, etc. The book is on Amazon, Kindle, paperback, or if you want me to read a bedtime story to you, I did narrate it myself.
I was going to ask if it's your voice. I was going to ask.
My voice.
Love it.
And that was a fun journey. But yeah, I love connecting with people. One thing I love also is helping people close business. And so like if we ever work together, I have stories for days of like the guy yesterday. We've realized someone I have in common. He was trying to figure out. I said, I know two of my contacts know that client you're going after. Let's figure out a way to get an intro. And he's like, seriously? And so it's like, that's what's fun is, again, I don't get paid, but I get paid in karma.
Absolutely. No. And again, you're a good man. You're a good dad. You're a great, person, leader in this industry, great, authority voice, if you will. So I want to thank you for your insights today, buddy. You're a good friend. You're again, a great mentor of mine and a coach even for me in some ways. So right, I always like to close it. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. So I always like to close the show with this for the people listening. If something in your personal life or business is not going the way you wanted, the bad news is the person in the mirror is the problem, but the good news is the same person in the mirror is a solution. And it's up to you and only you to make the adjustment. So with that said, Casey, any other closing thoughts for today?
Dude, that was like a mic drop right there. I don't want to steal your thunder. That was too good.
Awesome, dude. You're the man. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. Casey, thanks for your time and for your generosity and friendship. And we'll see you again out on the trail soon. Thanks, buddy.
See you, bud.
All right.